Thank you so much for tuning in to the 2022 School Board Candidate Forum hosted by Teaching for the Culture. We are so excited that you are here. It is important that you are intentional with your ballot and the candidates running for school board. Our children deserve the best, and it is your duty to vote for the best candidate. This forum is designed to help you learn more about each candidate so that you can make an informed decision on who to vote for. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Towards the end of the event, you will have an opportunity to answer the following question. If the election was today, who are you voting for? The results will be shared at the end of tonight's broadcast. Please visit our website at www.teachingfortheculture.com to learn more about the events we are hosting and learn more about our mission. Thank you for your support. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank y'all for tuning in. We are so excited for this Manatee County School Board Forum, and we're excited for the candidates that are here tonight. Just for full disclosure, there are two candidates that are currently at a school board meeting, and we have invited them to do a one-on-one outside of this forum just for fairness of all the candidates. So let's go ahead and get started. Teaching for the Culture follows the nonpartisan, unbiased, and impartial format. Time limits for all comments will be strictly enforced. In fairness to all candidates and the audience, we ask that these limits be respected. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks to introduce themselves. The moderator, will then ask questions submitted by our community. So that we can address as many questions as possible in the time available, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Candidates will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. In fairness to all candidates, we will rotate the order in how the questions are answered. So let's go ahead and get started with our opening comments, and let's get started with Susan.
Hi, how are you? And thank you so very much for having us this evening. It's nice to talk with everyone who is watching. I am running for the Manatee County School Board in District 2, and I come to this position with somewhat of a unique set of credentials. I was in public schools for 40 years. I was a teacher for 11 years, a superintendent for 8 years, and did a lot of different other jobs in the school systems in between those two positions. So I have a really strong understanding of what it means to have an excellent school and how those schools should work for our children. To begin with, every single child in Manatee County should have the same opportunities to excel. But that's not enough. We have to make sure that our students also have the support they need so that they can participate in those opportunities. We can no longer accept that so many of our students are not reading on grade level. We can no longer have so many of our children not graduating from high school. We have to offer every child an excellent programs, highly qualified teachers, resources in their classrooms so their teachers can do their jobs well. And this is particularly important in District 2. I will hold our superintendent accountable. I know how to do that because I've done that job. I will make sure we follow the money so that more of our resources are in our classrooms and we're not wasting money on programs that don't work. And I'm going to make sure all of our parents and community members have the information they need to know what's going on in our schools so that they can see how well our education is going and how well we are monitoring their taxpayer dollars. You're not going to hear partisan politics from me. I'm focused on children. I want everyone to succeed. And I want us to start working on this now.
Thank you so much. And we will move to Sean.
How y'all doing today? I appreciate you having me here. Basically, I've decided to run because of the security aspects. After the shootings in Texas, I thought I could not stand by and have anything bad happen in my county. I prefer that we come up with some type of good strategies to prevent this stuff from happening. I have 25 plus years of Navy and Department of Defense experience in security. I also have a background in intel analysis. I think I could easily lend myself to support and not only making our schools more secure, but also to do the analysis to make sure that we are within what we need to do with spending, as well as coming up with innovative ways to do a better job. And then maybe they basically went from a do more was less type of philosophy, and we had to come up with different ways to save money and still get the mission done. And I think I would be a very good person to do that. I'm not your average candidate. My school background was I taught when I was going through college. I was a substitute teacher. My sister has over 20 years teaching, so I've been around the school type system, but mainly I've been in the military, and I think I can help keep our children safe. And I think I could do a good job at oversight because of my background was policy and administrative stuff within the Department of Defense. I've also worked at the Joint Staff, so I'm really good at that higher level type of situations. So I'm just hoping to get some support. I know I'm running against someone that's been chosen. I just want the people to vote for me because I'm not a chosen person. So thank you if you support me.
Thank you so much. And then we will move to Chantal. You're muted.
Thank you. My name is Chantal Wilford, and first of all, thank you for having us, at this forum so that, voters can become more informed about, who their candidates are. I appreciate that. I am running for District 5 in Manatee County. I've lived here since 2005. As far as an education background, I studied education in college in the Netherlands, where I did teacher training for a couple of years to teach French to Dutch secondary school children. I decided that I didn't want to do that as a career and went to England to earn my degree, a bachelor's in Russian, French, and linguistics. And then I went to Paris, where I did teach for 2 years, where I taught English. And then, fast forward to 2005, in Manatee County, we started homeschooling our eldest. We actually homeschooled in this county for 14 years, and our children transitioned to Manatee County's public schools for 5th grade. And so we are 10 years into that, and we have 7 left to go in public education here. So over that period of time, I have seen a lot of changes in what students learn and how teachers are treated. And so now I have this, extra time and energy to pivot my focus from homeschool to public education. And so that's why I'm here. I want to help make our teachers feel protected in terms of, what they can do in our classrooms. We need to restore trust to our education professionals, and we need to provide incentive for them to stay and educate our community. I think there's a lot of good things going in our district, but we need to build on that, and we need to address the problem areas, and those are literacy. I mean, our literacy rates are pretty dismal, so thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's go ahead and get started with the first question. Thank you so much for your opening comments. Question 1, and we will start with Susan. What do you see as the major issues facing your school district and public education?
The major issue facing our school district is the performance of our students. And the fact that all of our students are not getting equal opportunities to be able to do better in school. Our literacy rates are pretty dismal, and they're not changing. They're not going up. They're kind of staying pretty steady. So we have to refocus how we educate children in this school system. And we need to have a community-wide effort here. This can't be done just by our schools, because we know there are lots of reasons why children do not learn. And so we need to start with children when they're very young. When they're first born, we need to get all of our community, health services, social services, our daycares, pre-Ks, everybody, all of our community partners working together to focus on our children's literacy so that as they start school, they are ready to learn to read. And as we improve reading, we will see them also do better in math and science and social studies. We must ensure that our students have the opportunities, like, do they want to go to college? We can prepare them and help them achieve that goal. Would they prefer to work in the trades or in technology? We can prepare them to have those kinds of jobs, but we first have to get them started on the right foot so that they can move forward through a school system, being successful and seeing for themselves that there is a future out there where they can learn, they can be successful, they can get good paying jobs in the 21st century, and they can raise a family and live within our community as happy, successful individuals. And so that's where I think we need to be focused. And we can do this. We know how to do this, and we need to start it now. No more talking about it. Let's get to work. Let's get our children prepared for the 21st century.
Thank you so much. Sean.
So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm running because of a security aspect. So that's my main focus. That's what I really want to change. I want to make sure that we don't have any type of shootings or any type of situation where we put children in harm's way. But beyond that, as a leader in the Navy, I realize that everybody's an individual and that we have to basically get them to look forward and to drive them to want to excel. And that takes a lot different approach than what I think that's going on right now. If you look at the individual and you find out where their interests are, then you can make them excited about, history or language or mathematics, and then you can build upon it. But we tend to blanket the whole situation and not give the ability to focus in on these areas. There's different cultural aspects, different ethnicities that if you were to focus on that, you would get them more interested. So when we're talking about doing language, are we giving them the appropriate things that they need to get them interested? I think that's where we're failing. I think we need to take a closer examination of that and still work in the binds that, that are with the state of Florida. And we can make sure that our children are learning and excelling. But first, it takes good leadership, and we need to recognize the good leaders within our teachers and administrators, and then help them move forward. And by doing that, I think that our kids will excel.
Thank you so much. Let's move to Chantel.
I think that our main focus needs to be on everything that goes on inside the classroom. So of course, that's student-centered, but and literacy is of course a foundational skill. Everything rests on that, and we need to have some engaging and really dynamic ways of reaching our children and making sure that they are reading at grade level from early on. And I think what we need to do that is invest in people, in human beings in those classrooms. And that means supporting our teachers. So not just, paying our teachers well, but also providing the classroom aides, the guidance counselors, the reading instruction specialists, board certified behavior analysts, just all the people the people who work with our students. And I think that is critical. Especially, I think it's important to move away from computer-based testing for the younger grades. I think we need more play-based instruction because I think that gets our students moving, and I think that's helpful for their development and behavior too. I think our teachers spend a lot of their time managing behaviors, and I think that could be changed and improved if we focus a little bit more on gaining skills through more play-based instruction early on. So those are just a couple of the ways that I think we need to focus on helping our teachers create a really positive learning environment for everybody, so that everybody feels heard, has their needs met, and has the appropriate level of challenge for their grade level.
Thank you so much. We will move to question 2, and we will start with Sean. What would you want to see in the superintendent's budget to address equity and ensure all children receive an equitable education?
Well, whenever you're talking about budget and when you're talking about how we should use it, we need to do good analysis. We need to find out where the parts of the budget are being mismanaged. I think that if we took a deep dive into it, I think I could do a deep dive into that budget and find these areas that we could make improvements. A lot of times it's not the superintendents or the administrator's fault. They're too close to the problems that somebody from outside that looks in can oftentimes find where we can make improvements. But when it really comes down to how we improve the schools, when it comes to fiscal aspects, it's about quality of people. So if you retain quality teachers and you look to bring quality teachers in and utilize your money in that way, you're going to improve the basic overall learning experience for those children. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about doing that. But first and foremost, everything revolves around that. People are your assets, not the buildings, not anything else. Really, it's the people. And how you utilize these people, how you retain these people, how do you help them move forward and feel comfortable and secure where they're at, as well as like want to come into work? That's critical. And I think I have that skill level because of the leadership background. Retention aspects were always a part of the military, and we make sure that we do our best to try to keep the people we have. Quality matters, and people are quality, and that's what we need to focus on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know who would be calling during a form. That's rude. Okay, let's move to Chantal.
So when it comes to the budget, of course, we need certain resources available to our students and our teachers, supplies, materials, that kind of thing. But I think that varies depending on the school. And I think this goes back to the communication. We need to listen to our leadership and see what is going on in each of their schools and what they need. For example, I know one of the elementary schools that I visited in District 5, they have a larger ELL population. So one thing that they wanted to do is reach out to the parents and provide English language instruction to the parents. But a lot of the parents don't have the transportation to get to the school. So that is a different set of circumstances faced by that particular school than another elementary school in our same district. And so that's why I think we need to look at and listen to the administration and teachers at each of these schools so that we can figure out how best to serve the needs of that particular population. And again, that really comes down to people, having the right support staff. In this case, one school might need more bus drivers and another might need more reading instruction specialists or English Spanish dual language instructors, so that the students at each of those schools can have their needs met.
Thank you so much. We'll move to Susan.
Well, there's a couple of things that I would like to see in our budget. First of all, I think that there should be some funding provided to each school so that the schools can use those to meet their unique challenges, so that the principal working with teachers and the staff can actually look at and say, okay, we have these funds. What's the best way for us to spend this for our students to be successful? That's one part of it. In addition to making sure that everybody gets a certain amount of equitable funding per child so that they have the monies they need to have the teachers, the support staff, the cafeteria workers, the custodians, everyone that they need to be functioning in that school. The second thing that I think is really important is that we get the money that currently resides in the 1 mil referendum for a portion of our teachers' salaries and also for other staff members' salaries out of that referendum and move it into the regular budget. And I know firsthand, because I understand school district budgets, I dealt with them for 8 years. I understand how hard that's going to be, but I think we need to do the really serious line by line analysis of our current budget to figure out how to do that. Our teachers and our staff should not have to rely on a vote of the public every few years to keep the salary they're already being paid. We have to fix that, because that sends a message to them that, oh, well, maybe you're going to get a cut next year, maybe you won't. That's okay. And it's not okay. We have to show them that we value them, we want to keep them, and we're going to pay them what they have earned. And one of the things that I will do from day one is go through that budget line by line by line, eliminate the waste, not stop spending money on programs that we have no data to support us continuing with, make sure that we are using the programs that work for children, that show success, and make sure that all of our dollars are accounted for so that our taxpayers know we're taking care of business.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to question 3, and Chantel will answer this first. Share the work you've done or visits you've made to elementary, middle, and or high schools in the community you plan to serve in the past 6 months.
Sure. Well, I have 3 children currently still in the district, or I did. One just graduated. So, of course, I had regular school, events between elementary and high school. So, that sort of normal parent involvement. And then in addition, of course, as a candidate for school board, I reached out to a number of principals and teachers in my local District 5 to talk with them about what they felt were the most pressing issues facing the board at this time. And so those have been very interesting and enlightening and helpful to me. There, of course, as everybody knows, there is a lot of political noise right now about education. And so it was important to me to get the input from teachers and administrators, because my pool of students is very small in the district. And of course, I communicate with my own students and their friends and other parents, but I wanted to know what issues are really an issue in the classroom and what is just kind of political theater. Because again, my focus is on what's in the classroom and making sure that our teachers feel supported. And I think for the most part, I would like to think that they are, but I think that the board needs to really step up and make sure that the teachers know that they are protected and they need to continue to teach what is in the standards, and that through professional development trainings and that sort of thing, they know exactly the communication is there. This is how things should be taught so that there are no blurry lines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll move to Susan.
Well, I've had the pleasure over the last few months of visiting several of our schools. Manatee Elementary is one of them, and also Ballard Elementary. I've been to Southeast High School and to Palmetto High School. We talked about different things at Southeast. I was at their school advisory council's meeting to hear about their progress and their programs. And this is a committee of teachers, administrators, and parents. And at Palmetto, I was there to talk about the construction that their parents were very interested in, and that is going to begin at that school shortly, so that they'll get some new buildings and some new facilities that they so desperately need. I've also been to Lincoln Memorial Middle School. That is a school district, that is a school building that needs our time and attention. Our parents need to have their trust in the school system restored because of the issues with the school when it was a charter school and was taken over and shut down. And we need to get those parents and those children feeling like they really do have our support and that we want to work with them so that they have great opportunities also. In addition to that, for the last 6.5 years, I've been a member of this district's audit committee. And that is a committee primarily of CPAs and also has people from who have a finance background from working in the school system that monitors the audits on behalf of the school board. And in doing that work, I've not only had a wonderful opportunity to work with some really great community volunteers, but also to learn a great deal about the school district's finances, about some of the programs that they've been funding and want to continue funding, the millage information and other aspects of construction, so that I really have a good handle on the finances of the school district, where the money is, how it is being spent. And so I have a head start on really monitoring that budget and making sure it is spent the way it should be. I'm also a regular attendee at board meetings and board workshops, so I can follow what's going on.
Thank you so much. And we are halfway done, y'all. Thank y'all for answering these questions. I really appreciate it. So we're going to move on to question 4, and Susan will start that first. The recent events in our nation have shined a spotlight on our institution's apparent conscious and unconscious racial biases. What are some action steps as a board member to hold people accountable for their biases that directly impact teachers and students?
First thing our board needs to do is set a very clear message and live by example in our school district that we welcome all of our students, we welcome their parents, we are respectful to everyone, we will do everything to maintain someone's dignity, and we will ensure that all of our children are part of our school system and feel safe at school. And that is a message that has to start at the top, and it has to be communicated, and we have to live it by example. These are our children. They have a variety of backgrounds. They come from different families, different cultures, and bring them. They're ours. We need to take care of them. We need to welcome them. We need to make sure that they're getting a great education. And most importantly, we have to make sure that within our school system, they are safe. The second thing we have to do is have a zero tolerance policy for bullying. And I'm not talking about throwing kids out of school. I'm talking about how we as adults teach children to properly respect each other, stop the teasing, stop the social media campaigns against other kids, stop the bullying, and absolutely no touching and fighting in schools. We have to communicate that, we have to live by that, and we have to set a very strong expectation for that so that all of our students feel comfortable coming to our schools every single day. And we can also start this by showing respect to the community members who come to our board meetings to raise concerns, to ask questions, to criticize. They have a right to do that. And we as board members must be there to listen to them attentively, make eye contact with them, look at them, pay attention to what they're saying, and act on anything that is not being done properly within our district.
Thank you so much. Sean.
You kind of skipped over me on that last question before that, but when we're talking about the current question, basically ethnic groups, different ethnic groups in our community are of extreme value. We need to cultivate that in any way we can. There's a variety of ways that we can do this, but really it gets involved with understanding the different types of groups and then teaching that to everybody. My background before I went in the Navy, my bachelor's degree in history and anthropology, specializing in cultural anthropology. And that cultural aspect between different groups is a key part. It's fundamental in us as Americans, because it makes us stronger. Every different culture that we bring together, every different group that we bring together just makes us a better community. And so we have to look at ways to get those communities involved and basically teach each other more about each other. The more we know about different cultures, the stronger we are as human beings, the better we are as a group. There's a variety of ways that we can do it, but first and foremost, you just got to make it a priority. So, I'm all about making that a priority. If you want me to answer the question you had before that, I can do that too.
Yes, please.
You just got to remind me what it is.
So the question is, share the work you've done or visits you've made to elementary, middle, and or high schools in the community you plan to serve in the past 6 months.
I got to admit that I wasn't even thinking about running for office until June. So my experience with the elementary, middle, and high school comes from my granddaughters that live with me for the last 5 years. So I've, taken them to elementary school, middle school, high school. I've, listened to their issues. I've talked with other friends of theirs. I did not go out and reach out to their school teachers because I'm not their dad. But I have since then, since I've started running, I've set up social media. I've used contacts and friends that I grew up with that are school teachers, and I've reached out to them and I've asked them questions. I basically have used them not just within District 4, but throughout all of Manatee County and even outside of Manatee County to let me know what's the real critical issues, where I need to focus my energies, and how to do the proper analysis to improve things. I have not only teacher friends, but I have administrator friends. One of my friends has a mother that was a principal at one time. I do whatever I can to reach out to people, and I ask them, to give me some feedback. Fortunately enough, a lot of them have, some haven't, but I'm here, I'm available. They can contact me too, but there's only so much I can do on my end during the summertime. Once school starts back up, I can do a lot more. It's just a little hard right now during the summer.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And we'll go back to question 4 with Chantal.
All right, so that was about unconscious and conscious biases and how to address that. And I think it really boils down to education, communication, and representation. I think all of our students and all of our teachers should feel safe and welcome in the classroom environment at all times, regardless of what type of family, what type of situation they come from. They should all be welcome. So diversity, equity, inclusion, those are all positive words to my mind. And I think, professional development in that area can certainly help. I think the school climate is also a big factor in that, and that changes, that can change from one school to another depending on the administration and parent involvement and student population. All sorts of factors go into that. But I think part of where we can improve the education and representation is in our libraries and in our early education, giving children more diverse reading material so that they can begin to make connections, even if those are not people in their immediate family or immediate environment, so that they know about different cultures. We have, I believe, 98 different languages spoken in Manatee County, which is amazing to me. So there are a lot of cultural differences, and those can be addressed through literature. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to the next question, and we will start with Sean. What is your vision for education for the community you hope to serve, and how do you expect to be held accountable for moving the district toward that vision?
My vision towards education is basically towards science and technology. I think there's a variety of ways that we can get students involved in that. I understand that we have some language issues, and using science and technology in some areas where we can increase their interest, that we can also improve on the literacy. About accountability, Accountability is about transparency. So as long as we are transparent in what we're doing and give plenty of opportunities to hear feedback from the community, then we have a chance to basically correct our course. So whenever we're doing anything, we basically need to look at the whole cycle. So you start something out and you look how you're going, but you have to have a review and take that review information and feed it back in. So if I'm elected, basically that's going to be part of the way that I do business. That's what I've done for 25 plus years in the military, is the intel cycle. As we're looking at stuff and it comes in, we must reevaluate it. We must correct where we're at, and we must refine it. If we don't refine it, we're putting people in harm's way. In this situation, we're not, physically putting people in harm's way, but we're mentally putting people in harm's way. So we need to refine the problem set to make sure that our kids are at the highest chances of getting the information that they need. And I think I'm a good person to do that refinement process. I can write those types of papers. I can give courses of action, and I can advise my fellow school board members, as well as do the transparency that's needed out to the community and get that feedback.
Thank you so much. We will move to Chantal.
So the vision for education in this district is really, I want to get people excited about education again. I think our instructors, our teachers go into education because they are passionate about education. And I think they need to have the freedom in their classrooms to be able to help their students in sometimes creative ways, because that's what teachers are. They're creative, they're flexible, and they are adaptable. And I think we need to promote that and encourage that. And of course, as I mentioned, with this teacher support, that also goes for the student support. And I'm sorry, I seem to be having some connection issues. I wish I knew, but I could do that. Yes, we have had a big storm come through. So regardless of where our students go, we want them to be ready for college or career readiness. And we have some wonderful programs already in Manatee County, and I think we need to expand on those. So for example, we have, the aviation program that's starting soon. We have construction, we have automotive, we have a fantastic technology student association program throughout, from elementary, middle, and high school in this county. So that is definitely something to build on. But I want everyone, regardless of what their focus is, to be excited about education, the students and the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to Susan.
First of all, I want our children, our teachers, our parents to love our schools. And that means that we take every single child when they walk in the door, wherever they're at, and we move them and help them make progress so that they graduate from high school. So all of our children feel successful throughout their career. They'll work hard, they'll be proud of it, but they'll feel successful. That all of our students are prepared for what it is they want to do after they graduate. Whichever career path, we've given them the tools and the skills to do that. And when they have left us, they will look back on their schooling and be thankful for the work that we did with them to help them achieve their goals. I would like our community to once again value our teachers, respect them for what they learn, what they are able to do, and how they teach our children. I would like our community to be proud of its schools. And I want all of our staff to feel like they have made a difference in our children's lives and that they are valued, and the work that they have done here is of such importance that they are proud of it, so that when they come to retire, because they'll stay with us their entire career, they can look back fondly on the successes that they were able to work with children to succeed. In terms of how we go about doing this, we work at it, and we work hard every single day until every single one of our schools is an A-rated school, and every single one of our children graduates, and every single one of our parents comes to the schools with a smile on their face. You will hold me accountable because I will meet with you, I will talk with you, I will answer your questions. And in 4 years, you'll either vote again for me or you will not. But right now, we need to start working on this so our kids have a chance for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to the next question. According to the latest FSA data, 78% of our third grade students were not proficient in reading. Let me say that one more time. According to the latest FSA data, 78% of our third grade students were not proficient in reading. We know that reading is the foundation of a strong formative education. What is your vision for reading instruction in Manatee County? We will start with Susan.
This is where I believe we should put our highest priority, is on teaching children to read. And we know how to do this. We just have to do it. We have to make this our community-wide project. We start with children when they're first born. We help our parents understand the role that they play in early literacy, talking to children, reading to children, helping them develop those early language skills. We know that having good daycare and preschool experiences, and we need to support our families who cannot afford to do these things so that they have those same opportunities, so that our students continue to get that boost and those make progress in those literacy skills. And then we need to have a K-12 focus in our classrooms. Every subject across the board has to have a literacy component. I was a science teacher. My students had to be able to speak it, write it, understand it, read it properly. And I marked their papers, and would correct the grammar if it wasn't there. We have to do that in everything because reading, writing, and speaking is so important across the board, and it reinforces those skills. We've had a lot of research on literacy over the last couple of decades. We know what we need to do. We need to give children good books to read. We need to give them a variety of books. We need to help them find things that they're excited about so they'll want to read. And we know we can do this. I had a school district very much like District 2, and we had the same struggles. And we got in there, we worked on this, and in 2 years, just 2 years of focusing on literacy, we were able to raise our scores by 9 points and continue from there. And we also saw science, math, social studies go up because the kids were reading better. So we can do this. We just have to put our minds to it.
Thank you so much. Sean.
So I'm a big proponent of the fact that it's all about getting children basically involved in what we're talking about and getting them interested in it. I go from my life experiences, and as a young child, I had a lot of problems reading and writing. However, I could speak English before the age of 3. When it comes down to reading and writing, a lot of it's interest. My mom basically shifted her philosophies with me, and I got into comic books of all things, but it worked, so realizing that we have to get children interested in what they care about is the key factor. Like Susan was saying, that interest factor is huge. And then basically that every subject matters. You can't be in the sciences and not care about what's written down. That is part of the whole equation. So yeah, I'm about the science and technology, but the science and technology means that you still have to explain it properly. We have a lot of engineers out there that are really good at the math part of it, and they come from other countries, but they're not really good about the English part of it. In my experience in the military, when I've dealt with them, it makes it really difficult to make things happen when they can't explain it in English. Unfortunately, we're not a very bilingual society. I wish we could improve that part, but right now we just need to focus on the language that is the primary, which is English, and improve in that area. And we do that through engagement and exciting them, and basically making sure that the other subjects are emphasized, and that we ensure that they realize that it matters that you have good English in your science and math classes.
Thank you so much, Chantal.
So we have had our literacy rates stagnant for many, many years, and we've been using programs like iReady and Reading Plus for many, many years, and it seems like we're using the same tools and somehow expecting different results. And I think it's time that we maybe move away from that and try a few different things. I think, again, as I mentioned before, the play-based instruction earlier in our grades, I think that does help with reading. I think, again, as I mentioned, we need to invest in more people, smaller classrooms in those early grades, reading instruction specialists, teacher aides who can sit down in one-on-one or with small groups and help our students learn. I think the multi-level cooperative learning type of models like reading buddies has been very successful. When you pair second graders together with fifth graders and you have these kids one-on-one in pairs, reading to each other and learning from each other, that can be very effective. Phonics, I think an emphasis on phonics, again, would benefit our readers. We need some early intervention to make sure that those students with learning differences, such as dyslexia, are identified earlier so they have the supports that they need to help. And I think we should do away with some of the sit and stare policies that we still have with testing. When our kids finish a test early and then they have to just sit there and stare at the wall for 45 minutes rather than being allowed to just pick up a book and read it. I think we should be encouraging reading at every opportunity that we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll move to our next question, and we will start with Chantal. Sorry. The Florida Department of Education deemed social emotional learning and culturally responsive teaching as unsolicited strategies in our state standards. What is your understanding of these terms?
Well, social emotional learning was something that was promoted by our state government just a few years ago after Parkland. And teachers have been given and still are professional development training. There are resources that they can use in their classrooms. And really, my understanding is that this is a positive thing. We want our students to grow up to be well-rounded citizens. We want them to be responsible. We want them to be respectful. And this is part of social emotional learning. But I do, and I think it's an inherent part of being not just a parent, but a teacher as well. Those are strategies that you use in a classroom when you have a number of children together. They need to, raise their hand, take turns, be polite. Those are just part of social emotional learning. I think where a problem may arise is if people start to think that that is something that can be assessed. You can't learn social emotional learning on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. It's just part of education. So culturally responsive teaching, of course, as I mentioned before, the wide variety of languages and cultures that our student demographics come from, we need to have culturally responsive teaching in our classrooms so that our teachers are more aware. Our teachers should be more, aware of diverse situations within their student body. So those are supported by our state government, or have been for the past few years. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to Susan.
One of the things that has happened is that there is a program or there are terms that sound right, we have used them, and then someone comes along and in a document or in a book or whatever adds a piece to it that for whatever reason other people start to interpret differently. And so we start getting ourselves all caught up in these terms, and we often are talking past each other. And yet if we would stop and listen to each other, we'd find out we're talking about the same things. We know that when we are teaching young children, part of our task is to make sure that they can do school. They have to raise their hands and take turns. They can't interrupt the teacher or other students. They have to sit in their seats. They have to do what the teacher tells them to do. These are all positive behaviors that parents and teachers teach children to do so that they can get along in a classroom, which leads them to getting along in a society. These are life skills. And we go on and we teach children how to understand when they are upset and angry, because kids come to school, who had a fight before they walked in the door, who got angry with their mom and dad, who got punished for doing something and is angry still because that happened. And so when they come to school, they bring with them all of those kinds of issues that they have to learn to manage for themselves. And we as school people have to help them do that so that they understand how to function in society, to separate out the different things going on in their life so that they can pay attention to school. These are all good, solid life skills we need to be teaching our children. We also need to make sure that children are reading and exposed to materials that look like them, and that they also can understand about their classmates who may not look like them, so that we as a society can learn to respect each other, get along, and work well together.
Thank you so much, Sean.
So when we're talking about social emotional learning, there's a bunch of different aspects of it. Unfortunately, I think part of it's being used to do a partisan separation between the right and the left, which I don't think is correct. However, this has been done since the 70s. I mean, we've all been exposed to it at certain levels. It's important that our kids understand how to act in social settings. I would say that it's one of the key aspects that we don't publicize in curriculum is basically how teachers and administrators help the social emotional learning of kids to get through the day and how to interact with other kids. With that said, we gotta walk that line. We gotta make sure there's transparency. We gotta make sure that the community understands what we're trying to do as an educational body, but it should not be a decisive measure. It shouldn't be the left and right thought process of how we're doing this. Unfortunately, this is a talking point that's being tossed around, and I disagree with it. I mean, this is a nonpartisan type of environment, and it needs to remain that way. Social emotional learning is something that we need to make sure that our kids are aware of. It's not an indoctrinational BS that you kind of hear at times. It's just making sure that they understand how to act and react in an environment, and it's going to help them later in life. I just cannot emphasize that any more than that. I mean, it's, come on, let's get real. Kids need to learn how to act around other kids.
Thank you so much. And we will move to our last question for the night before we move to our closing statements. We'll start with Sean. Statewide, Black students continue to be disproportionately subjected to exclusionary discipline, arrest, and harsh punishment like being charged as adults. What policy and work as an elected official will you commit to doing in order to combat this systemic issue?
There's a variety of aspects that cause this to happen, and a lot of it is there's a difference in ethnicities, and unfortunately, the differences affect mindsets. And the way that you break down this is you stop separating things. I remember going to college, and one of my professors said, "There's only one race. It's called the human race. So get over all these different races. There's different ethnicities. So even within our community, it doesn't matter what color you are, there's different ways that you think and act. And until we like break down these walls, until we come together as a group, we're going to have these problems. And we need to start in the elementary schools and then foster it. My mom, you know, I love her to death, of course. She was really good at saying it doesn't matter what color your skin is. You know, we are all, you know, people. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's the real key fundamental to everything. If we constantly try to separate people into different groups, we're constantly going to have these problems. I think the best thing the military ever did to me was break down any walls that might have been left and said, we are all one team. We are all one fight. We will get out there and do the mission. I don't care anything about your past. Are here to defend America, and that's what counts. And I think that's what it counts with our kids. We are all here to learn. We are all here to make sure that our kids learn. Stop putting up these walls. Let's break them down and make us all one team, one fight.
Thank you. Chantel.
So there is, if you look statistically, even in our district, there's a particular school called Horizons, and last I heard, I think it has about an 80% minority student population, and they are sent there because they have been, suspended, or they get sent to Horizons and removed from some of the other public schools. So this is an issue, and I don't think it can be swept under the rug or dismissed, because clearly the statistics show that there is an issue there. I've been a childbirth educator and a birth doula since 2005, and we see something similar in the, maternity health care, that our Black mothers are more likely to die than their white counterparts, and Black infant mortality is also higher than white infant mortality. And these are things that we have to look at. We can't ignore them. And the same goes for, how our Black and brown students are treated in our schools. We need to make sure that there are clear policies on de-escalation, maybe have some alternatives to suspension. We need to increase parent involvement and communication with the parents, and make sure that all the policies that we do have are enforced in equitable ways, across the board, and perhaps more bias training for our staff, so that and that kind of goes hand in hand with the de-escalation practices, I think. So it definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed and cannot be ignored. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will move to Susan.
I think we, first of all, need to remember that we are talking about children. They are not mini adults. And we have to understand children's behavior, and we have to know how to help children moderate their behavior so that they're not getting into trouble. And so the first thing we should be doing is positive behavior reinforcement and interventions with children, so that we teach them how to behave before they get into trouble, and that we have proper interventions so that we can keep things from escalating to where it is a serious, serious problem. We have schools all over this country that have successfully implemented these practices, some in our own district. We need to be paying attention to that. Second, the code of conduct needs to be written with children in mind, and we need to have it applied the same across our district. No group of children or any individual school should be treated harsher than others for the same offense. So that's one of the things I think our board needs to direct our superintendent to do. Make sure that it is being applied the same across our schools. And third, we need to be focused on a disciplinary practice that keeps kids in school. Our first reaction should not be to suspend them, to send them to Horizons, or to have them expelled. We should be doing everything we can to keep them in school so that they can learn, they can understand how to behave properly in society so that they don't end up in jail. And we as adults, I think, need to sit back and take another look at how we are disciplining children in our schools. I'm not talking about having kids who are dangerous or, not disciplined, but let's make sure we're treating them like they are children, not mini adults.
Thank you so much. And so let's go ahead and start with our closing statement. You have 2 minutes, and we are going to start with Susan.
As I said, I've been had 40 years experience in education. I've seen a lot of programs come and go. I've seen a lot of successes in schools where people have come together, they've identified what the problem is, and they have worked out solutions and they have worked at it. Our school district does not look very carefully at its data. We have a lot of data, a lot of information. We have information about how programs work or don't work. We have information about how our students perform or don't perform. We should be taking that information, breaking it down into its finest pieces so that we really understand what's happening in each and every school, what's happening in each and every grade, what's happening with each and every student in our buildings, so that we can tailor education to make sure that they are being properly taught, that they have the supports in place so that they will be successful. I have been in school systems for a long time where we have focused on data, we have focused on achievement, and we have had success. We have seen every single student rise to the challenge because we built in the supports, the extra time, this after-school programs, the summers programs. This school district needs to explore doing more of those things, including perhaps having longer school days and longer school years so that children who are behind have more time to catch up. The message I want to get to everyone is, this is not hopeless. We can do this. It is time now for all of us to put our minds to the problem, to demand that it be our priority to enable every single one of our children to get an excellent education. Let's say no to the mediocrity, and let's say no to accepting the failures. We as a community want to be proud of our schools. We as a community need board members who will make sure we focus on children's education. Thank you, and I appreciate you all being here tonight.
Thank you so much. And we're going to move to Sean.
I want to start with to say that basically, Susan, you rock. That was really good. I agree with so much of what you just said. It's amazing. Basically, the investment and the way that we look at data is a critical aspect. I got a background in big data analysis. I got a background in just analysis. So when you look at data, you can find all these type of information that you wouldn't expect. You can find where the weak points are. You can find where to better refine your strategies. When you look at data, when you collect data, it will help you figure out where you need to put your resources. And I mean, that's why we can say do more with less. If you don't have the data, you don't do analysis, how can you do more with less? So, again, Susan, you are on the mark with that. We need to do a better job at looking at the data. And you also got to think garbage in, garbage out. So make sure you got the right data. So collect the data, collect the proper data, research it properly, do good analysis, and then present it to your other fellow board members. I think I have a lot of time doing that. I shouldn't say I think. I know I have a lot of time doing that. I have a lot of time coming up with courses of actions that I've given to 4-star generals and admirals. You need to be able to come up with a policy based upon good facts, good data, and you can basically point to it and have the transparency where they can go back and research it themselves and come up with the same conclusions. That's a key factor that I think I give than my competitor is my background in doing analysis and giving courses of action. And I think I could present that to the board and we would be stronger as a community if I was elected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And we will move to Chantal.
Well, I think that one of our main focuses should be really to attract and retain teachers. I've seen the school district all summer long post about job fair after job fair after job fair, and we still have a lot of openings, and that really needs to be addressed. I think, of course, pay is a factor for our support staff as well. But we also need to really have some face-to-face exit interviews with anybody who is leaving the district and find out what their reasons are beyond pay. Make sure that school climates are healthy, and that teachers feel and staff feel listened to and heard. I think we also need to focus, some of our attention on parents, and really encourage parents to partner with their teachers in their child's education, help reduce absenteeism, which is a problem, um, and model some healthy conflict resolution skills. So if they do have any differing opinions, or they have issues that they want to see addressed in the schools, that they model the behavior that they would like to see in their own children. So maybe not running straight to the superintendent or even the school board, but first having conversations with their student and with the teacher, and then the administration at the school level. Um, and finally, as a parent with 3 kids in the district, I have seen changes over the past 10 years. We can no longer take high school lab sciences. We don't have an orchestra in middle school, and we really should not be reducing the opportunities for our students. We should be increasing them. So, but for my last few seconds, I just want to thank you very much for giving us this opportunity and for hosting us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you again to the candidates that were able to be here. And for those that are watching live and watching the replay, I just want to say that we're going to do something a little bit different this time to make sure that we increase the participation in the straw poll. So what we're going to do is I'm going to post the link to the straw poll in the comments, as well as you can have access to it. And the straw poll is going to close on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it gives more people to make sure that their voices are heard with the straw poll. I just want to, again, thank the candidates for taking time out of their day to share their vision for Manatee County schools and making sure that they have their voices heard when it comes to the ballot. So with that being said, I love y'all. Y'all have a great night. Don't forget to vote in the straw poll. It closes Friday at 6:30 Eastern Standard. And y'all have a great night. Love y'all.